someone has written asking a question, and that is that he has received our literature and said that he finds that books we've sent him are wonderful and he really appreciates them. But he has then asked a question, which is, why does Mirza Ghulam Ahmad have such importance to our organization? And the simple answer to this question is because Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad was the person who set us on the path by following which all that wonderful literature that he so admires was produced. Had it not been for Hazrat Sahib, those wonderful books would not have been produced. And one example of that, there are many examples of the reforms that Hazrat Sahib made, but one example of what Hazrat Sahib did was, of the reform that Hazrat Sahib made was this, that at the time Hazrat Sahib appeared, Muslims were suffering from a great inferiority complex compared to Christians, white people, the British, whatever you want to call them. And this was understandable. Why? Because at that time, Muslims who used to rule half the world had lost most of the territory that they ruled. French, the British, etc., they took over the rule of the countries that Muslims used to rule over. Muslims used to excel in learning and science, and they were behind in all those things. Economically, they were weak and poor. Militarily, they were weak and poor. And because they had put this ban on thinking, because Muslims believed that after the four great Imams, the door to thinking, the door to reasoning, the door to reinterpretation of Islam had closed. The result was that they got further and further and further behind other nations. And they thought the reason for this was their religion. And that was the crucial point, that they blamed Islam for their decadence, for their humiliation in the world. It was Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad who was the first person after many centuries to stand up and say, no, it is not Islam's fault. The fault lies with you. What you have done is that you have stopped acting upon injunctions of the Holy Quran and you have stopped thinking. There are many examples of this. Many examples of this. People will be surprised to learn that it was Muslims who first discussed the theory of evolution. It is mentioned, or possibility of it is mentioned by Imam Ibn Kathir in his commentary of the Holy Quran under the verse where creation of Adam is discussed. And there are many other examples of these things. Muslims were the ones who developed science and knowledge and understanding. They established algebra. They even had calculus. It wasn't called calculus, and they didn't do it the same way as Newton or Leibniz, whoever you believe invented it. But they had the tools to do the same calculations. Calculus allows you to do instantaneous calculations. Not I came from Slough to this place and it took me this amount of time, so I was traveling at that. But How fast were you going at 12:45 and 19 seconds? Calculus allows you to work that out. Instantaneous. This is the thing. And all of had been lost. All of that had... And the interesting thing is, Muslims developed all these things because they were trying to prove the existence of God and the fact that Quran contained guidance for the whole of humanity. Now when a bar was put on their thinking, then that was the end of the matter. Society changed, new things came up, but Muslims ignored them because it was decided they need no longer think. A great example is the printing machine. When it was invented, it was first presented to the Muslims because they were renowned in the whole world as people who embraced new technology, under whom science and knowledge and research flourished. So the inventor took it to Muslims. What did Muslims do? They looked at it and the ulama said, no. The Holy Prophet used to write everything by hand, so it is heresy, it's heretical to print something. And you then extend that argument, and you can see whenever photography is invented or sound is recording is invented or Facebook is invented or website is invented or television is invented or video is invented, you use exactly the same argument. And the man then went back to Germany, printed the first Bible, well, and we know the rest. So it was Hazrat Sahib who said Muslims have to change their attitude. They have to think and try and make the teachings relevant to the problems that arise in this society and at this time. I'll give you an example. You see, the Quran says don't drink. So if in a country no one drinks, but everyone takes heroin, and you say, well, the Quran just says don't drink, it says nothing about heroin, so that's fine, and the door of ijtihad is closed, would that be something sensible to do? Of course not. So Hazrat Sahib, this is just one thing that I'm briefly mentioning. Dr. Bisharat Ahmad has written a book of 600 pages in small typescript that just traces how Hazrat Masih Maud confronted other religions and the reforms that he made among the Muslims. And that book is worth reading from cover to cover. So Hazrat Mirza Sahib doesn't just have fundamental importance in this Jamaat. Hazrat Mirza Sahib has a fundamental importance in Islam, because we now see all the Muslims, whether they say they're doing it or not, they're turning to his vision of Islam and how Muslims are going to live and survive. Whether it is jihad, whether it is punishment of apostasy, whether it is anything else. Do you have Muslims in America who say jihad means take the sword and go out and kill Christians? Of course they don't, because they have to live and survive in America. They don't want to end up in Guantanamo Bay, but they do it for worldly reasons. Hazrat Masih Maud said this as a matter of principle, because this is what the Quran says and this is what the Holy Prophet did. So that was one of his achievements, that he gave Muslims this confidence to stand up and to confront other religions and to confront science and philosophy and show that Islam does not have to apologize for everything. It can stand on its own 2 feet, and it can confront and face any other religion and any other philosophy of life that exists or that will come in the future. So in short, I just mentioned one reason why Hazrat Sahib is so important, not just to this Jamaat, but to the whole of the Islamic world.